Hello, all of you vaingloriously wonderful people. This is the Declasse Weaponized Tampa, and I'm about to find out if it'll off-road. This vehicle has, well, no votes, but you can still vote for the vehicles that you want to see by clicking on the link in the description down below. I'm taking a week off from the voted for vehicles, simply because I wanted to do a couple from the Gunrunning DLC. And, well, so far only one gunrunning vehicle has any votes at all, and it wasn't the one I wanted to test, so just kind of doing a special one-off video. But usually these videos do run, ooh, two wheels. These videos do run based off of what you vote for, though occasionally I throw in videos like this where I'm just like, hey, there's something I want to do. And you know what? It's my YouTube channel, so I get to do that. Anyways, the Weaponized Tampa is an all-wheel drive muscle car. Two things that don't normally go together, but it seems to work out fairly well for the Tampa. With that massive machine gun on top and all of the armor and roll cage and everything, this car likes to tip over. It is, when it gets on an uneven terrain, a little bit easy, or a little bit difficult to keep on four wheels. Even just driving down the street, sometimes you hit a curb wrong or take a corner just wrong, and even then it'll want to kind of tip over, and if you're not careful, it will roll. So this is something I have to keep in mind this entire run, is keeping this thing, well, just on the ground properly. But it has plenty of power. It's not going to struggle in that regard, and being all-wheel drive helps it a lot, because as we've talked about in Will It Off-Road several times over, the all-wheel drive vehicles, if the back wheels start spinning, well, the front wheels still usually have grip and can pull the car right on up. So not a problem with this one. This car does suffer quite a bit from understeer, though, and that, even in the real world, that's kind of very characteristic of all-wheel drive vehicles. They just understeer a lot. You give it a lot of steering input, but because a lot of that friction is going towards actual traction and grip, there's not enough left over sometimes for braking, or well, not braking because you're obviously going forward, but not left over for turning. So occasionally this car will understeer quite a bit. And of course, since it's a muscle car, and I'm pretty sure it has a rear biased all-wheel drive system, you can also get some oversteer if you get too heavy on the throttle, where the back end will just let go and come on around. Not as bad as some cars. Hello, hiker. Ooh, hit him and he hit the fence. Damn. There you go. Make sure he's taken out there. Send a nice little rear mortar. That's handy for taking out the hikers. Looks like we're going to get a really good time out of the Weaponized Tampa. If I can just keep it on all fours. It's a beautiful car. Look at that paint job just glisten. I think I have some sort of gold or something, orange or something. This pearl. I'm not really sure how I got that color combination, but I think it goes really well with the armor color. I think the whole car just turned out absolutely fantastic. Final little climb up. Struggled a little bit there on that last bit of rocks, but we are up in a very impressive 3 minutes, 2 seconds. Will it off-road? Yep, and it did very well, actually. Just a little bit of dirt. So that means it's time now to get back in the car and take the Weaponized Tampa back down Mount Chiliad to see how it does in a controlled descent. I scared all the hikers off by firing the rear mortar. And yes, it was on purpose. I'll do it again here in a minute when we get ready to do the controlled descent. Oh, had to get that hiker. I mean, I got 20 of these things. May as well use them. So, another characteristic of the Tampa is that it does like to go airborne on jumps. It loves going airborne on jumps. Almost caused me to slide down the mountain there, but I was able to recover. Trying to take out some more hikers with rear mortars. I was able to recover by actually giving them the gas and pulling myself back up the side of the hill. A little bit of understeer there caused me to ram into the side of the mountain. And then not enough braking caused me to slide off. But again, plenty of grip from this car. So not a problem whatsoever. You can see that understeer really coming into play there, because it's just really making it go wide around a lot of these corners. Unless you slow way down like you did there. Uneven terrain, kind of went at it wrong, so instead it turned into a mini jump. Oh well. First significant jump, very front heavy, as most vehicles are. It's really tough to get them flat right there. Some will, but usually they tend to nosedive right there. Just not enough time to really bring that front end back up. But here comes our first big jump, and I went sideways and landed where you can often find the dune buggy parked. Yeah, so this is going well. Another hiker, sent him into a lovely pirouette, sent a mortar to greet him, and got myself a 1 level out of it. So let's try this next jump. And again, not the most graceful. It doesn't really want to go with much poise. It tends to want to be clunky and bumpy, and oh, this is going to be bad. Went up on 2 wheels, I couldn't get slowed down, but it recovered nicely. Look at that. Going into a bit of a slide coming around that corner, but nothing that can't be controlled with this car. Coming down our final little straight bit of dirt here. Again, wanting to get airborne, wanting to go on 2 wheels. So I've got to fight that constantly. Coming around the twisty bit to the tree of mini crashes without incident. Haven't hit that tree in a long time. And there we go. It tried to start rolling over. I corrected the roll, but lost my trajectory because of it. So just got to get turned back around and make that final push back down towards asphalt. There we go. Switching to missiles because, well, we're going to need them here in a minute. Plenty of grip in these corners. I mean, it's not the grippiest thing. You know, it doesn't have a spoiler or anything like that, but it does all right. But we are down for our controlled descent. 2 minutes, 49 seconds. And that car had to die. So let's take it back to the top of Mount Chiliad, fling it off the side, and see what type of damage it will take. Was fairly easy to control over that first bit. Having a little bit of trouble here, though, getting it to go back flat so I can get a good landing. Ultimately, it landed all right, but it wasn't the prettiest. Here in a minute, a weird body part is going to come off, and I'd love your guys' input on what it is. At the same time the hood comes off, what appears to be a trunk is going to come off. But obviously, this thing has no trunk because, well, there's a rear mortar mounted there. I think the game still believes that body part is on the car. There it goes. See, that looks like a trunk to me. It was over there to the right. Didn't get a very long look at it, but if you go back and pause the video at that section, it's like the game thinks that there is a trunk lid. Even after it comes off, though, it doesn't look any different back there where the rear mortar is. So, not really sure what's going on with that. Looks like the windshield is busted out, which I don't think I've got that in my damage notes, so I'm going to have to remember to add that back in later. Can't really tell, though, because of the louvers over it. Don't know what the rear mortar was for. Shits and giggles. I can't think of any other reason why I would have shot that. Definitely getting bounced all around here in this muddy, bumpy bit. And I'm hearing an engine rattle. Pretty significant. Well, not really. I'd call it a moderate. I wouldn't say it's severe or significant yet. We're up around the woodpile, just barely tapped it. And we're down for our damage descent. 1 minute, 36 seconds. Let's take a look at how much damage it took. Of course, that front windshield is gone. I can see it clearly now. Most of the lights are missing. The hood and whatever that rear mystery trunk piece was has some slight body damage on the right front and moderate engine damage. But that brings us to our next vehicle, the Bravado half-track. I love this truck so much. Once again, nothing that got any votes. If you're wondering why a cavalcade just suddenly exploded, well, I may have dropped a prox mine on my way from where I had this spawn to my start location, and that cavalcade may have ran over that prox mine. Won't be the only prox mine that we see in this run. So, the half-track is a truck that you just really can't get in a hurry with, but it doesn't really matter, because one, the thing can withstand a lot of explosions. Two, it's well armored and tends to protect you fairly well from people shooting you. And three, well, it's got a motherfucking machine gun. 4 of them on the back of it if you happen to have a gunner with you. And that tends to deal with whatever may come. So, one of the problems is also one of the good things about the half-track is that rear track gets a ton of grip. And because this thing isn't top speed, it's all low-end grunt, it can climb some insanely vertical or near vertical inclines. However, it also has a bit of power going to the front wheels. And this is the weirdest thing. I dropped that proc spine back there. It blows up there. But keep an eye on those stars in the top right-hand corner. We just blew up the one mine that I dropped. At least up here. Went to 2 stars, but that's just because I'm running from the cops. But, there, 3 stars. A cop clearly ran over something. But I only dropped one mine. Anyway, the front wheels do have some power going to them. And I think it's just, yep, there we go. That was a little bit of the problem right there. I don't know if it's the combination of it having 2 different drive treads or what it is about this truck, but sometimes turning is more of a suggestion than an actual activity. It doesn't always want to go in the direction you want, and then when you get onto a slope, you've got to be going straight up or down it. If you try to go sideways on the slope, those rear tracks aren't going to hold. They're just not made for that. You can see there, I'm trying to turn right, but instead I'm actually going farther down the hill and eventually go into a slide and a tip. So that's a bit frustrating as the air brakes just beg for mercy, trying to get this thing turned around, but it just won't. And then I just barely tap the gas because it's got so much low-end grunt and because it's already pointed downhill, it just lurches forward. So trying to find somewhere that I can get turned around while dealing with the cops shooting at me. So we're going to call creepy Uncle Lester. I know the time is running, but doing my best to drive and call at the same time. Trying to see if I can just back up the hill, but that's not going to work.
How can I help?
So instead, I've got to go down here,
friend.
find a place where I can
Take
just
care of the
actually
LSPD.
turn around.
Leave it to me.
And I think I found it right here, maybe? Nope. Wouldn't get turned. I'm going to try to back up here, see if I can't use that flatter bit, and nope. It just doesn't have really a whole lot of power in reverse. So just trying to see if I can't get the back end to wiggle around on me, and it worked. Now we can get back on the gas. Most vehicles are to the top of Mount Chiliad by now. This all just comes down to the steering. As you can see, when I first fell off that section, it was all because I had just a little too much speed. And if you're going just a little too fast in this thing, well, like I said, steering becomes more of a suggestion than an actual guaranteed output from your steering wheel input. So you've got to watch it on this, and that's what caused me to fall off the first time. I'm going to take it a lot slower this time because this truck does have the grip and the grunt to basically go up this even from a dead stop. So dragging a little bit there, but much better. So that's really where it should have been all along. And when I drove it back to the top of Mount Chiliad to do the damage descent, there wasn't any issue because, well, I learned. I have had this truck off-road before, just never on this particular trail. So it was a learning experience. We can't blame the truck. But since we are going to have a very slow climb up, because I do have to stay off the gas if I want this thing to turn at all, I want to address some feedback that I got recently for Will It Off-Road. I completely misunderstood their feedback at first because of the way it was worded and thought they were just complaining that I talked during the video. Well, what else am I going to do? The original Will It Off-Road videos, I didn't talk at all. I just put subtitles up every once in a while on the screen, and people complained about that. They're like, nah, we'd rather have you do a voiceover. So I started doing the voiceover. And at first I thought, like I said, they were just complaining about the fact that I had commentary. And so I just kind of gave a snarky, well, go watch a video with some shitty dubstep drowning out the sound of the engine. Which they took umbrage at that response, I do believe. And said that basically they didn't find the video helpful because, and I don't remember which video it was on, but I never said which vehicle of the two that I was testing was the best. Well, that's not the point of Will It Off-Road. I'm not testing two vehicles against each other. That's why the title card has two cars with an and between them, not a versus between them. This is not a competition between any given cars. Oh, another proc spine. These proc spines that these things drop are huge. Look at that thing. But it's not a problem for the half track. Made it go a little sideways, but that's it. But anyways, the purpose of Will It Off-Road is not to pit the two vehicles that I'm testing against each other. I mean, obviously, because we've had some really weird combinations because I rely on your votes. The point of Will It Off-Road is to test each vehicle individually to see how it performs in this uphill climb and then the descent back down. And then I give commentary on it from what I observed, so you know, if you decide to take that vehicle off-road, what you can expect from it, and if you should even bother with it. I put a timer on the screen because it's a good benchmark for how quickly it gets up, because if a vehicle can get up in under 3 minutes, that means it's a pretty solid off-roader. Even though in this case I'm in a really solid off-roader, and well, we're going up on 6.5 minutes, but that's because, well, one, we had that nice little tumble down the hill, and now two, the front end's getting hung up on the side of the hill here. It's just a little too steep, truck's a little too long, and it's hitting there. But the timer is just to kind of give a benchmark. It's not meant to be a race. It's not like Bruffy where he's testing the fastest vehicles around a circuit. This is not about the speed, even though the time does play a factor in it. That's kind of secondary. It's more about the commentary of how it performs off-road. And there we go. Now that I got a little bit of distance on it, came up at a better angle. The half track is finally up. 7 minutes, 8 seconds. Will it off-road? Yeah, it will. Yeah, and even in the hands of a noob like me. Needed a bit of water there because my voice is going. Because I've been doing a lot of videos today. So I waited for daylight so we could see the truck a little bit better. And now we're going to do our controlled descent. And immediately it wanted to start sliding and go nose heavy. This is a big, heavy truck. So the fact that it slides around like it does on the inclines, well, I mean, that's how it should handle. It's made to go up and down, not sideways on a hill. And really, I think those tracks are more for like muddy conditions, not necessarily climbing hills and things like that. As I open another bottle of water because I just finished off the last one. Ah, much better. Just trying to keep the speed down. Well, because obviously if you get going too fast, like we've already talked about, steering doesn't really work that well on this thing. Does a little bit better on pavement, but in dirt, it will definitely just kind of plow on you. It's beyond understeer, and it's just, the front end just plows. That's all there is to it. I mean, you can see that I'm putting in a significant amount of steering input, and sometimes it results in nothing. And then sometimes it does like that, where it kind of overcorrects. You know, you just got to live with it. And you got to know what to expect from this truck. I do love the half track, though. It's not fast. It's not particularly pretty. I mean, it looks badass. But my God, it's got so much characteristic. And it's just so freaking tough. I really am happy with it. Of all the things that I bought, I think this and the Tampa are my favorites. I'm probably going to get rid of the APC. I just don't really care for it. Simply because it gets destroyed too easily. It seems like if you have a wanted level and the cops are shooting at you, because that engine's right behind that one backplate, ooh, very bumpy jump. Very dramatic. But because the engine's behind the backplate on the APC, it tends to take damage to the engine real easy. Had that thing catch on fire several times. Much better jump there from the half track. Don't really like the oppressor. The physics are just weird. I like the idea of it, but I don't know. The physics of it are just a little strange. Plus, I like sticking to the ground. Very, very ugly, ugly, ugly jump there. And we're kind of right back here in this ravine where we were earlier, which isn't good, but because I'm pointing the right way, I can just get on the gas, and those massive tracks in the back, partnered with a little bit of grip from the front wheels, is just going to push and pull this thing right back up the mountain, even in the rain that is starting to fall. Just going to drive up until I get back on the trail. And I know this video is going a little bit longer than all the others because of issues we ran into. And believe me, the issues with the half track are not over. And normally anything that I have this many problems with, I'm just like, yeah, I don't bother. But again, they're all things that you can correct if you just take it a little bit slower. I got a little bit too fast in this jump last time. There on that jump, much better. So I was going slower. You just have to take it slow. This thing was not designed for speed at all. Even that little bit of speed there, it was already getting out of control on me again. So just keep it slow in this. There's no reason to get in a hurry. Because, like I said, you're going to be able to take shots. The thing can ram stuff right out of its way despite its lack of speed. And then if you have a gunner in the back, well, you can take out any enemy that's around. So you don't need speed. It's lethal. The thing's an armored killing machine. Which is part of the reason I love it so much. Just again, keeping my speed down. Don't want any more incidents at all. Once I get on the asphalt, I'll be able to pick up a little bit more speed. Because it does do a little bit better down here. Which is kind of ironic, I know. But not too much, because I do want to be able to actually, turn. And even there, it was understeering on me a bit. As those front wheels just wanted to plow. So even the controlled descent has been a slow time. But still a very competent off-roader. And we're down 4 minutes, 30 seconds. So, let's take it back to the top of Mount Chiliad. And fling it off the side of the mountain. And see how well this thing does by getting banged around. See what type of damage it takes. Look at how flat it stayed there, though. It was really easy to control in midair. Which I kind of appreciate. But of course, it's big and heavy. Really wide, and that gun sticks up really tall. So it does mean it's going to get caught on just about every rock and tree that there is. And sometimes it'll even get wedged with the back end up against one bit of rock and the front end wedged against another. I'm trying my best to rock it out of there, and it's just not working. And now I can't even get it to rock anymore. I've moved forward just enough that it doesn't want to rock. Which is a bit of a problem, but it can be overcome. Don't you worry. I'm honking the horn because I was trying to drop prox mines. But apparently if the tracks aren't on the ground, it just honks the horn instead of dropping a prox mine. So I thought, well, if I drop a prox mine right below me, since this thing can withstand an explosion, and it's only had 2 and it can take about 6 or 7. I think actually it could take like 10. I don't know. I thought I'd drop a prox mine, have it blow up, and knock me out of there, but didn't work. So instead, I'm going to use the vibration from the guns. Forget what this gun's actually called. But you can see, just with each bullet that fires out, the back end of the truck is sliding just a little bit with each shot. So my goal is to just keep shooting this rock, use the vibration of the gun to move it just enough so that it'll start rocking again. So I think if I can get it rocking, it will get dislodged and I'll be able to finish the damage descent. I know it's perfectly good waste of ammo, but look how cool those bullets look spitting out of the side of those clips. I love the animation on all of these new vehicles with their weapons. It's just really, really cool. So, out of the gun, do my best to see if I can't get in the truck. Pressing Y didn't work. I had to actually move him over there. But I am able to rock again, which means I should be able to get that back end free now. If I do it just right. There we go. Got a little bit of grip from the back end pulling me up. Just get it to slide, and I should be free. There we go. That worked fine. Though the gun is now kind of pointing off to the side, which might be a problem. It could get hung up on some things, but I'll deal with that if it happens. Let's get out and straighten it up is what I'll do. Yeah, it's definitely getting hung up on a lot of stuff. Trying to get some speed up, but, well, it's just not possible because I keep hitting everything. Doing my best through here, but again, steering an issue because now not only do I have speed, but it's also really, really wet. So the front wheels don't want to do anything at all. Coming up to the first little tunnel here and slowing down right through there. See how we do in this bumpy, muddy bit. All right, not too bad. But the guns might be an issue here. It's definitely too tall, but I think it's also too wide. I'm not sure if it's too tall or not. It looks like it might have fit. So after my character gets done being a dumbass and bumping his head on the guns, I'm going to get in the back of the truck, turn the gun back frontwards. Just get it lined up there, and then jump back out, get back in the cab, as the clock continues to just tick, tick, tick away. And see if we can't get through here now. But, nope, it's too tall. But I can go to the left-hand side. It fits through there just fine. Back into some more muddy, bumpy bits, and it is sliding around a lot. Quite a bit, actually. A little disappointing on that, but nothing too bad. By the way, this thing can be totally submerged as long as you don't leave it underwater. You can drive with this thing all the way underwater for a few seconds and it won't die. Just a nice little handy tip there. Rocket found that out. Pretty much as long as that snorkel doesn't get buried for too long, you're good. But we are down for our damage descent. 4 minutes, 32 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage. And, well, there isn't any. It's dirty. That's it. All the lights are working. No broken windows. Nothing. Hey guys, don't forget to go vote for the vehicles that you want to see in Will It Off-Road by clicking on the link in the description down below. And until next time, I'm Brandon, reminding you to stay vainglorious.